Welcome to the Virtual Agent 2.0 sign-in page. You'll notice we have a clean, modern architecture for your consumer to make payments. At the top, we've got a spot for your logo and the color to go with. This can be personalized in each of your Virtual Agent profiles. We also have a bunch of ways to log in here, so we're going to go over each of them. The first is to log in as a guest. This is a way for your consumer to log in and make a one-time payment. They need to enter their name and some information below. We've developed an intelligent sign-in to find your consumer based upon the information that they provide. You can also log in traditionally by creating an account, or popularly, you can use Google or Facebook to log in as well. Our most effective way to get into the virtual agent is using the auto login links. If you're not familiar, it's a URL that is sent via email or text and skips this step altogether and brings your consumer right into the app. When your consumer first logs in, they're going to be presented with a couple of things. The first is going to be the mini Miranda. This text can be customized in each of your virtual agent profiles. When we click past this, it's going to bring us to the home screen where we are going to receive a tour. This is going to show your consumer where they can, for example, view your account details, where to make a payment, and where they can change their demographic information. We can see that this consumer currently owes about $770. This is going to be the bundle balance. By clicking on the details here, we can see what makes up this current balance. Each of these bubbles here represents one account in this bundle. So this means this consumer has 3 accounts in the bundle. In each of these, we have a header row here, which can be customized in each of your virtual agent profiles to contain vital information. We also have the current balance for the singular account and a way to pay on the singular account. What's important to note about this is if your consumer wants to pay specifically on an account rather than to the whole bundle, they'll want to use this option. If they'd like to pay on the bundle as a whole, they can use this Make a Payment button here as well as the one on the home screen. When we open this up, we'll see the details for the account, such as the assigned date, the amount of interest owed, the amount in fees that are owed, and any payments or credits towards this account. Scrolling down, we have a couple of other things here, such as the history of payments that have been made, as well as managing documents. We're going to skip these for now because we can also access them from the front page, and we will see those then. The one thing that is exclusive to this page is the disputes. The idea here is that your consumer must look at their account information before they're able to make a dispute. On the dispute page, your consumer will have a spot to provide any documents or files pertaining to their dispute. They can also leave a note here as well. Once this is submitted, it will be communicated to your app and onto the consumer's account. There's also some triggers that can be set up to create workflow when a dispute here is submitted. It's important to know that when your consumer submits a dispute here, it does not trigger dispute workflow in ACE. These two processes are separate. Let's set up a payment plan in the new virtual agent. We'll access that right here from the home screen and select Set up a payment plan. At the top, we have the current amount due. Next, we can select the amount we'd like to pay per month. You have a few options to do this. You can type the value into this box. You could also use the slider bar, or you can select the 1, 2, or 6 month options. Last, you'll want to pick your first payment date. You'll notice down here at the bottom that the payment schedule will calculate. All of the parameters up here can be specified in your virtual agent preferences, and you can set limits to each of these options. You'll notice that this is a very simple way to set up a payment plan, and we're encouraging you to have your consumers use this needing a different payment arrangement if they need a more complex payment plan the agent can set up within the application itself. By selecting this option, your consumer can reach out to you using your contact information below or using this text box here to send a message. Now that we have the parameters of our payment plan set up, let's go ahead and make the payment and hit Next. At the top of our screen, we have the payment per month as well as the payment schedule outlined. Next up, we have a bunch of payment options that your consumer can use. We have the traditional ones such as credit card and ACH, as well as some alternative payment methods such as Google Pay, Apple Pay, and PayPal, which are offered to us by a new payment vendor of ours called Nuvei. If you're interested in having the alternative payment methods as an option, please contact sales and they'll get you hooked up with Nuvei. Let's continue on here and select credit card as our payment option. Now let's go ahead and make our credit card payment. This text down here is text that can be customizable in your virtual agent preferences, which we'll get to see in a bit. Great, now our payment plan has been executed. We can either print a receipt or hit done to bring us back to the home page. Now that we have a payment plan, you'll notice that our front screen looks a little bit different. We have a progress bar that shows us how far along we are into our payment plan and paying off our account. You'll also notice it now says modify a payment plan. With this virtual agent, we're giving the consumer the chance to modify their own payment plans instead of putting all the work onto your agents. Your consumers have a few options of what they can do. The first is to delay a payment. This means your consumer can delay the payment until the day before their next payment is due. They can also choose to skip a payment. This means that they will skip their upcoming payment and the payment will be added to the end of the payment plan. It's important to know that your consumer must make a successful payment in order to delay or skip a payment again. The last option is to be able to cancel a payment plan. From the home screen, we can access the settlement workflow. That's going to be under this I cannot pay right now button. It's going to immediately give your consumer a settlement option. In the virtual agent preferences, you can create logic blocks with several different conditions. It's going to consider which settlement offer your consumer qualifies for and give them that option. It's also going to consider any of the client settlement information that you have entered and give your consumer the most rigorous option. If your consumer chooses to select this offer here, it will bring them to the payment plan setup screen. If we go back and say I still cannot pay right now, it will bring us to a screen that says that we'll follow up with them in the future. Clicking continue will bring us back to our home screen. From the Get in Touch with Us button, your consumer is going to be provided with all the information they need to get in touch with you. They have the information to call, text, and email you. As well as at the top, they can drop you a message. Just like other areas within the application, there are triggers involved to get the message in front of you. Here on the virtual agent, your consumer can manage their own account documents. From the home screen, when we select Manage My Documents, we come to a page where your consumer can drop off or view documents from the account documents page within the application. Your consumer can also leave a note about documents and drag and drop themselves here. They can also manage documents that they've dropped off here in the virtual agent, like deleting and adding new ones. What's important to note is that account documents can be managed by your agency to determine what your consumer can and cannot see within the application here. There are a couple of things that we'll see within the app that will show what your consumer can see. Here in the virtual agent preferences is where you can set a document file mask in the general settings section that says any of the documents that have these formats here will be included and shown in the virtual agent. For example, if this space was blank, all documents would be restricted. They would not be able to see any of their account documents in the virtual agent. Another way to manage account documents is through the account page. This is likely what your agents will be using to manage that for your consumers. You'll want to make sure that once you're to the account documents page that you add this VA visible option here to the table. Once you've done so, you can select the document and use this apply action drop down to allow or disallow specific documents. Now you can see that this document will be visible through the virtual agent. Down at the bottom of our screen here, we have a few more places to navigate to. First, we're going to check out the payment history. At the top of our screen, we have our payment progress. As we scroll down, we have all the payments we've made thus far. When we click on one of these, we're going to get some additional information. At the top, we have our transaction number, transaction date, and time. We also have the amount paid here and a receipt we can review. This receipt is really easy to screenshot on a phone, and we can also download it here. Next up on our navigation bar is the My Account Information section. Here at the top, we have your consumer's demographic information, and down below we have quick links to other spots. This top one is the account details page that we've already seen. We also have some other typical maintenance items here. This My Contact Options link is the one that has the most critical information. Here your consumer can provide information about them and how they would like to be contacted. This includes email, texting, and calling, as well as by mail as well. Using these toggle buttons here, your consumer can communicate to you how they would like to be contacted. Last on our navigation bar is our chat. Backed by GPT-4, we provide 24-hour coverage for your consumers. When no one is available to message your consumers back, ChatGPT has got you. Let's go ahead and ask it a question. And there you have it. Now let's go check out what it looks like when there is someone available in your application to answer questions. When there is an agent available to respond to chat messages in the application, these will be managed by the alerting system. I am the primary agent on the account for the consumer that messaged in. When I open up the alerts, I'll see that there is a chat created waiting for me. Once I open this up, you'll notice that the chat window pops open for me. Here I can respond to the consumer, make this box bigger or smaller. I can even navigate to the account by using this button here. What's great about this is that the chat box always follows you around, so you never need to go looking for it. You can even have multiple chats open at the same time. These will stay open until the session has ended. Now that we've seen the virtual agent, let's check out some of the nuts and bolts used to set up each of these virtual agent profiles. To access that, we're going to go up to our menu here at the top and go to Setup, Virtual Agent, and then Profiles. You'll notice that there are multiple profiles here, and that is because you can have multiple profiles or multiple experiences for your consumer who logs in. This is going to be based off client code. You'll notice here that this profile doesn't have any client codes here, and that is because this is going to pertain to everyone else who does not fall under Sample 1 or Sample 2 client. So let's go through some of the preferences we have here. At the top, we have some general things like enabling chat and enabling the AI responses in the chat as well. We've already seen our document file mask, so let's go over some of the other things here. Last is our bundle group filter, which is going to allow you to include or exclude certain accounts that you would like your consumers to see. Some of the things you may filter out, for example, are canceled or maybe paid off accounts. Continuing on, we have a space for you to enter in your contact information, which we've seen on some of the screens, your logo or potentially a client's logo if you are going to be using this for first party. Additionally, to customize your virtual agent, you can put in a new color scheme as well as a favicon. A favicon is an image used on your web browser tab. Next up, we have our payment plan options. This is what's going to be used to restrict the type of payment plan your consumer can set up. We have some very typical things here, such as the maximum number of payments, the maximum number of days before the first payment, the minimum payment amount, and if you would like to allow your consumers to modify their own payment plan. Next up on our payment options, this is where you're going to link your payment destinations to the options that you have for your consumer to make a payment with. Our communication vendors are the template used and what vendor to use when we are going to be texting or emailing the email authentication template to your consumer. Next up is the allow settlement. So if you're going to be using the settlement option, you're going to want to have this turned on. And then we have the settlement profiles below. So you'll notice that there are multiple here. So you can create several logic blocks that will offer your consumer whatever criteria they fall under, they will be given that offer. It's important to note for both settlement profiles and for the payment plan options that the virtual agent is going to choose whatever is the most rigorous for that consumer. So for example, if your client has a more rigorous payment plan or a more rigorous settlement option than what is here in the virtual agent preferences, it is going to choose the one in the client profile. Lastly, we have our customizable text areas. We have our account details header, our Miranda that we saw when we first logged in, our privacy policy, our periodic reminder notice, and our e-signature consent that we saw on the payment plan screen. We've made these so they're really easy to use, much like Word, by being able to insert account fields and insert images, and you can make these as pretty as you'd like. Alright, that is our demo for today. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and we will see you next time.